General Audience number 124 of August 29, 1984. The Ethical Regulation of Fertility and the Primacy of Virtue. While showing the moral evil of contraception, at the same time Humanae Vitae fully approves the natural regulation of fertility, and in this sense it approves of responsible fatherhood and motherhood. Here one must refuse to apply the term responsible from the ethical point of view to parenthood in which one has recourse to contraception in order to regulate fertility. The true concept of responsible fatherhood and motherhood is rather connected with the regulation of fertility that is honorable from the ethical point of view. We read in this regard, quote, "The honorable practice of regulating birth rate demands, first of all, that husband and wife acquire and possess solid convictions concerning the true values of life and of the family, and that they strive to acquire perfect self-mastery. Dominion over drives by means of one's reason and free will undoubtedly requires an ascesis, so that the effective manifestations of conjugal life may observe the correct order, in particular with regard to the observance of periodic continence. Yet this discipline, which is proper to the purity of married couples, far from harming conjugal love, rather confers on it a higher human value. It demands continual effort. Yet, thanks to its beneficent influence, husband and wife fully develop their personalities, being enriched with spiritual values." From Humanae Vitae, paragraph 21. The encyclical, then, illustrates the consequences of such behavior not only for the couple themselves, but also for the whole family, understood as a communion of persons. We shall have to take up this issue again. The encyclical underlines that the ethically upright regulation of fertility demands from the couple, above all, a certain behavior with respect to the family and procreation. That is, it demands that they acquire and possess solid convictions concerning the true values of life and of the family. Humanae Vitae, paragraph 21. Beginning with this premise, it was necessary to take the next step by considering the question as a whole, which the 1980 Synod of Bishops did in the De Muneribus Familiae Christianae. After the Synod, the teaching about this particular issue of conjugal and family morality treated in Humanae Vitae found its proper place and fitting perspective in the larger context of the apostolic exhortation Familiaris Consortio. The theology of the body, particularly as a pedagogy of the body, in some way plunges its roots into the theology of the family and at the same time leads to it. This pedagogy of the body, whose key today is Humanae Vitae, can be explained only in the full context of a correct vision of the values of life and the family. In the text quoted above, Paul VI refers to conjugal chastity when he writes that observing periodic continence is the form of self-mastery in which the purity of married couples is shown, paragraph 21. As we prepare to carry out a deeper analysis of this problem, we should keep in mind the whole teaching about purity understood as life according to the Spirit, see Galatians chapter 5, verse 25, which we considered earlier from Theology of the Body Audiences 51 to 57, in order to understand in this way the relevant statements of the encyclical about the topic of periodic continence. That doctrine remains, in fact, the true reason in terms of which Paul VI's teaching redefines the ethically upright regulation of births and responsible fatherhood and motherhood. Although the periodic character of continence is in this case applied to the so-called natural rhythms from paragraph 16 of Humanae Vitae, still continence itself is a definite and permanent moral attitude. It is a virtue, and thus the whole mode of behavior guided by it becomes virtuous. The encyclical underlines rather clearly that here it is not merely a question of a certain technique, but of ethics, in the strict sense of the term, as the morality of a certain behavior. For this reason, the encyclical is right to highlight, on the one hand, the need in such behavior for reverence in relation to the other established by the Creator, and on the other hand, the need for an immediate motivation of an ethical character. In regard to the first aspect, we read, quote, "To make use of the gift of conjugal love with reverence for the laws of the generative process means to acknowledge oneself not to be the arbiter of the sources of human life, but rather the minister of the plan established by the Creator." Humanae Vitae, paragraph 13. Human life is sacred, as our predecessor Pope John the 23rd recalled, quote, from its very beginning, it directly involves the creative action of God. This is John the 23rd in Mater et Magistre, AAS 53 from 1961, 447. And you can also see Humanae Vitae, paragraph 13. As regards the immediate motivation, Humanae Vitae requires that in order to space births, there must be serious reasons that stem either from the physical or psychological condition of the couple or from external circumstances, from paragraph 16. In the case of a morally right regulation of fertility, brought about by periodic continence, the point is clearly to practice conjugal chastity, that is, a certain ethical attitude. In biblical language, we would say that the point is to live by the Spirit. See Galatians chapter 5, verse 25. The morally right regulation is also called natural regulation of fertility, which can be explained as conformity with the natural law. By natural law, we understand here the order of nature in the field of procreation, inasmuch as it is understood by right reason. This order is the expression of the Creator's plan for the human person. And it is exactly this that the encyclical, together with the whole tradition of Christian teaching and practice, particularly underlines: the virtuous character of the attitude expressing itself in the natural regulation of fertility is determined not so much by faithfulness to an impersonal natural law, but to the personal Creator, the source and Lord of the order that is shown in this law. From this point of view, the reduction to mere biological regularity detached from the order of nature, that is, from the Creator's plan, deforms the authentic thought of Humanae Vitae. See Humanae Vitae, paragraph 14. The document certainly presupposes the biological regularity even more. It urges competent persons to study it and apply it in a more thorough way, but it always understands such regularity as the expression of the order of nature, that is, of the Creator's providential plan, in the faithful realization of which consists the true good of the human person.